Welcome to the Ask Monica Anything podcast. VAs in the hot seat with their burning questions, getting coached in real time, unfiltered, unscripted, just real answers when you need them the most. So join me, the VA Godmother, and let's glow. Welcome, Glow Getters. This is Monica, aka the VA Godmother, and I am here with Chisom today, and we are going to get down to the nitty-gritty of some Ask Monica Anything. Now, she has had some burning questions, but before we get started, I'm going to have her kind of introduce herself and what she does, and then we'll dive into some of your questions. So are you ready, girl?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what kind of clients you go for, and then we'll dive into your questions because that'll give us some context before we dive in.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chisom. I'm an executive virtual assistant to support founders and coaches with admin tasks, operation, and systems. Right now, I'm in that stage of figuring out my position and direction, which is exactly why I'm excited for this conversation.
I love it. Yeah, positioning is one of those buzzwords that VAs hear all the time, but it's like, okay, you tell me what it is, but how do I do it? So I think that's what this conversation, yeah. So I think it's a very timely conversation because when I get questions in my DMs, I'm like, you know what? More than one person can benefit from this. So I wanted to figure out a way that I can do that. And this podcast is going to give the reach and visibility to that. And then obviously, I know once the word spreads, people are really going to start wanting to send in their own questions because I will always want to lead with that value.
Okay.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. So go ahead and let's start with your questions and let's just tackle them one by one.
So the first question I have right now that's been burning on my mind is how to find the best clients and how to connect with them. Sometimes I reach out and they don't respond, or worse, they pitch me their own services instead. So how do I actually build conversation that leads to clients too?
Yeah. So that is definitely the question of the year or the question of any VA's career, right?
Yeah.
So I think one thing is to identify like, where are you showing up? So I believe when you're referring to you send them messages, you're showing up on LinkedIn, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I think part of that process is going to be the awareness stage because when you first show up on LinkedIn, people don't know who you are. So your very first post, people are going to learn about who you are, right? And then from there, you build your audience. And so what I see is when you build your audience at first, it might not be your client that you're going after, right? It might not be that ICP, but what you're building is community. And that is going to give you visibility. And that is going to give you reach. And that is going to allow you to tap into those other networks. So then you can start making those connections with the ICP. And the second piece of that is, so that's the community nurturing engagement side, right? And just building up the anticipation.
Yeah.
The second part of that is going to be like your content and your positioning. So one thing is showing up is half the battle. You know how they say just post it, right?
Yeah.
But another thing is a lot of people on LinkedIn, I think it's something like only 7%. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's a small percentage of people who actually are active on LinkedIn. And a lot of people are lurkers. Those lurkers are actually going to be the ones that convert more frequently because those are the ones, they might not be active because they're the busy CEOs who need those 10 hours in their week back, right? So they're not actively engaging. So when they show up on LinkedIn, they're showing up with a reason and a purpose. And that is usually to make business deals, to find support, to segment whatever gaps they have in their own business, right? Or also get educated and learn to see what other people are doing. So based on that, knowing why they're showing up on LinkedIn, you have to be that solution. So when you're leading with outcomes and pain points and your hooks and your CTAs, just know that those people are watching and it's going to take a few touch points to actually convert them. And so what does that mean? So that means your first few months on LinkedIn might be crickets, but that is just part of the process. And then people give up at that point. So if you keep pushing past that cricket stage, that's where about 75% of other VAs will drop off. So that means now your consistency is what's going to give you your visibility and reach. And LinkedIn's algorithm is rewarding that consistency and longevity because they know as long as you're on their platform, you're nowhere else. So they want to push out your content. They just want to make sure that your content conforms to what their users are looking for. So have you heard of the post structures like the tofu, mofu, and bofu?
Yes, the content funnel.
So, how often are you actually using that to structure your posts? Is it every post fits into one of those, or do you have certain days that you're pushing those type of posts?
Since I post 3 times a week here, I make sure maybe one is mofu, one is bofu, and the other one could be tofu. Not just every time. Sometimes I skip. I don't use it.
And yeah, you don't have to do it all the time, but starting to add those and do some A/B testing on those structures and those formats will help you better gauge your outreach plan. So you're doing that, you're posting, you're showing up, you're being consistent. And so now that you have those structures in place and you're making it a point to do that, what's your next step when you've identified your ICP has engaged with your content or that you've connected with them? Is your next immediate step sending that DM?
Okay, the first thing I do is after finding my current ICP, the person I want to talk to, right? I turn on their notification settings on their profile, and then I start engaging on their posts. Sometimes 2 to 3 times, depending on when they post that week. After engaging on their post for a week, then I tell them, hey, I would love to connect because some of them do like random connection messages. So if they accept, then I DM them and say, thank you for connecting. And after a while, I would try to speak to them again. And sometimes they end up pitching their services to me. That's my problem.
Okay, I see. So one thing that I learned is you have to try to identify the ICPs who may already have someone working on their account. So one of the ways to do that is because you know how a lot of these founders, they already may have a VA who's working with them, right? So you don't know if you're pitching to that actual person or maybe it's their VA answering. So automatically you'll probably get shut down, and which is why you automatically get that pitch because usually it's probably already someone working in their account. So you're not going to have much success. So have you ever like thought about that and what would be your, it's not really objection handling, but how you kind of identify who may have a VA already by some of the cues and signals of their account versus who just completely looks like they're winging it and needs help? Do you have like those signals in place?
One of the main signals I look for with coaches is when they are promoting a webinar live workshop and handling all the promotion themselves, asking people to DM them directly. Another signal is when I notice they don't respond to comments on their posts. That usually tells me they don't have anyone supporting them yet. And sometimes their post shows very little interaction. To me, that suggests they may not have the systems or support in place to help them amplify their content and reach more people. Those are all the kind of signs that make me think a coach might really need a VA.
Okay, good, good. Yeah. So those are the little quirks and the nuances of the platform that you just have to be aware of. This is just one of those skills that you pick up over time and you just in the thick of it and you just learn as you go, right? So that's one piece of the puzzle. So one thing that I like to do is when you're trying to warm up that lead, take it from cold to warm, everything you're doing is right. So you're engaging with their posts, you're trying to bring value, and then you're making that connection request. So it's just not a cold outreach. Hey, I'm just sending this random request. And then you're letting more time pass, still doing that engagement and having those touch points. And then you're reaching out, but it sounds like you're getting like the reverse engineered pitch slap. So I think part of that is you really need to look at the type of messages you're sending. So do you have a general idea of how that goes? And if you want to just kind of tell me, does that message sound like? So I can kind of take it from the client's perspective to see how, it's what does it trigger when I hear that?
One example is an empathy coach I reached out to. I first messaged her about a week before she went live on LinkedIn. And then I followed up the day after the live. I told her I enjoyed the session. And from there, she thanked me and started telling me more about what she does as a coach. Then she asked me about my work. So I explained to her what I do as a virtual assistant. But after that, she flipped the conversation and began pitching her own services to me instead.
Okay. So for your ICP, what is their number one pain point that you have discovered?
Okay, the number one pain point would be how to manage their time. Sometimes they feel overwhelmed and they don't have the right systems to help them manage their time.
Okay. So what do you have that is going to address that pain point? So some type of either evergreen content or lead magnet or freebie that you can give them immediate value without giving them free work, obviously, that would show them better than you could ever tell them. Do you have anything like that?
I could create a system, an SOP for them on how to go about a specific task or how to manage their time actually. I'm still researching more on what ways I could help them even.
Yeah, one thing that I've seen another VA do is she created like a quick little ebook on how to delegate tasks. So a lot of founders never had a virtual assistant or any type of support, right? So solopreneurs who are starting to scale, who've never been in that situation. So that is an ICP that would probably be a great fit for you because you're really organized, you're really streamlined, you're not into the game, you know what systems work and are in place, right? You're the proof of concept. So you need to take that and you need to turn everything that you have. So I would recommend like turning on the dictation feature in like ChatGPT, because I know you use ChatGPT, and kind of doing a brain dump and just having a conversation. And maybe it's just 2 to 3 minutes. And you just tell that ChatGPT exactly who your ICP is, exactly what their pain points are, exactly how you are going to solve that. And then you tell them that I want to be able to put this in maybe an ebook that is 3 to 5 pages max, that is going to take 2 to 3 minutes for them to go through and really find some value. And even if you can give them like a tech stack recommendation, if you're having trouble being consistent in scheduling posts, here are 2 tools I recommend: Buffer and Panelly, for example, right? So something like that to give them the power to say, oh yeah, I never thought about using this tool, or I didn't know this type of tool existed. Like some people don't know that Notion has a built-in AI feature. So just kind of showing them and putting them on game is just a quick way to bring value. And I always tell every VA, if you don't have a lead magnet that you can drop and send someone value, then that's where you need to start.
Okay.
Because if you notice a lot of these creators, do you notice how some of them have said, I spent 50,000 hours trying to figure this out. And then they have like this screen recording, but I've compiled all of this into this. And they like say, DM me or drop this link and I'll give you access to the Notion dashboard that you can duplicate and start running your own comms, etc. Right? You see them? Yeah. So you see those creators doing that. So basically you want to emulate that because what they're doing is not only are they giving value, but they're garnering engagement. They're making people comment. So even on my post today where I said, comment, glow, or DM me, people are commenting glow, right? I'm getting engagement. So my post is now going to get additional reach because of that engagement. And then you're going to have people reposting it because they don't want to gatekeep, which I love. That's what I love about the VA community. We don't gatekeep. They're going to repost. And and do you know the fun part of it? When you interact with VAs, a lot of us VAs are going to have the same ICP, right?
Yeah.
So they're already making their own connections and showing up in their ICP feeds. So if you repost something or you're engaging with them, you're going to show up in their ICP feed post too, because they're going to see, oh, Divine, for example, like Chisom's posts, and that client is like, oh, I can actually use what she's posting. And then that client or ICP starts following you. And then eventually they're liking what you do over time. They're sending you a DM on their own free will. And that's how I started getting inbound leads, by just showing the value and giving them what I know they need just to whet their appetite.
I get that. Yeah, that's very helpful.
And so part of that is you have to leverage what you already have. We don't want to start doing things from scratch all over again. So what I would recommend for you is really sit down, get that number one pain point hashed out, cut through the fluff. The first time you write it out, the first time you draft it, most likely all of that is probably not going to be your last revision because a lot of it's probably going to be fluff. Put it back, put it down for a couple of days, and then come back and say, okay, let me look at this and put on your client hat. If you were a client and you were reading this, do you find value in it? Do you feel like what this VA gave you is something that you would want to explore more? Do you want to reach out and ask her, oh, well, I see you mentioned I should use Buffer for scheduling. Well, does it also have analytics features, or is this something that you use? They might even ask you a question. They might even comment with a question. And so one thing, if you ever get an ICP or someone who could potentially, be a client, they might not be your ICP right away, right? Because sometimes new opportunities open all the time. What you want to do is keep that conversation going. So if someone comments on your post, don't just, especially if it's ICP, don't just say, hey, thanks, I appreciate that. Ask them a question. Keep it going. Make sure that you're giving them something. So basically your comment strategy should also have some type of hook and CTA at the end. So believe it or not, the work doesn't stop at just posting. If you get an ICP that comments, then you need to strategically comment back, making sure that they want to respond to it and actually engage. So that's the second piece.
All right,
to
I never thought of that.
Yep. So that's how you position, because what's one thing is when they see you take all this initiative and they see you do this, you are the proof of concept. You are basically creating what they want. So if you have your stuff together and you're leading with value, they're going to be like, well, I want to do this for my clients. I want to show up for my target audience and I want to offer them something like this. Obviously, it's not going to be the same type of thing, but the idea is there. The process is there. The framework is there. The system is there. And that's what you're showing by taking all these steps and taking that initiative.
That's amazing. I see that now.
So how does that make you feel? Like what is the first thing you're going to do based on hearing that advice? What's one thing you're going to implement and surely do so you make sure that this just doesn't go in a graveyard somewhere?
The first thing I'm going to do is, first of all, work on my comment strategy. I think I've just been shooting into thin air and nothing is working. So that would be the number one thing that would even attract people to come into my DMs even.
Perfect. I love that. And so another thing is, do you still have your premium GPT account and you have your custom GPT all set up?
Yes.
Okay, cool. What I would recommend is you have that first GPT, and I know we still need to refine it and stuff, and we'll get to that. But another piece that I want you to do is you're going to build another GPT that is strictly just for your comment strategy. It's going to diagnose, analyze, and give you a good working draft to any response that you have. Why? Because what we're going to do is we're going to give it instructions and we're going to give it documentation on your post and your ICP's comments. So how they comment, how they articulate things, the words that they're saying. Because you know how I post and I say you should mirror their language?
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to harmonize that a little bit more, because sometimes what I see is we're saying the things that these clients are saying, but we're not putting it in the right context. And that's where it's falling flat and just sounding like noise.
That's right. I think the custom ChatGPT would come in handy. So good.
And I think just once we do refine it and have that session to really dive in, I think it's all going to make a little bit more sense, because I know a lot of this is like, okay, well, everyone does a GPT and everyone doesn't set it up the right way. So you can set it up and you can have generic content. You can set it up and it could be a great addition and vocabulary starter, right? Or you can really optimize it, refine it, and train it. And it takes a couple of months to really get it to where it needs to be, because there's always updates being pushed out and you got to address those updates, because those updates that OpenAI sends out, they might contradict some of your instructions. So you might have to reiterate some of your guardrails or even update your verbiage so it catches those nuances that OpenAI bug fixes try to fix, which sometimes hurts what we've already built.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, cool. So what's your next question? Let's dive into it.
So my next question is about content and burnout. You know, they say just be consistent with posting and your right clients will find you. I know content is important, but honestly, I run out of ideas. I don't always know what to post that would attract the right people. And I get burnt out easily. How do I keep showing up without feeling stuck?
Good question. Do you have content pillars or themes in terms of things that you talk about?
Yes, I do have content pillars. And right now, I would say I have three. They're mainly around leadership, education, and storytelling. I'm also starting to build a fourth one around systems and processes.
Okay, so one thing that I do is I divide my content into static content and dynamic content. So static content is the content that I batch based on my pillars, and I batch that. I think right now I'm good until December. But then I also have dynamic content, like the piece that I posted today. I just randomly said, "Oh, I want to post because I'm so excited about tapping into the new community," right? So that was a dynamic piece of content. So I separate it like that because when you have identified your content pillars, this is where you would leverage AI to help you. So one of the things that I have done for myself is I created a library of prompts that will create my plan on the page for the month. So I feed those prompts into my chat GPT. It knows the format, the structure of my plan on a page, and then it spits out my content for 30 days, like just an overview idea. Like here are your content pillars. So what I like to do is you have your content pillars, and then that plan on the page is going to scope out some hooks and some CTAs. And then based on that, you're going to use your next set of prompts to carve out now a draft 30-day content calendar based on those pillars. And once you do that, that's when you go in, work, tweak, and refine it. And then you use that last prompt to get everything tightened up and in the structure you want. So it's either going to be the tofu, mofu, bofu, or it's going to be some type of card, the challenge, action, result format that I use. So there's going to be some options there. And so that's what I coach VAs. So I think part of it is you just need to make sure that you have. So part of the thing that I talk about our self SOP. So that's part of the prompts in your systems you have in place. So I don't know if you have my 3-prompt guide to create the plan on the page, but that is a good place to start building out the 30-day content calendar. And then there's also a resource that I have for a Notion CMS, so you can better track and manage and have a better line of sight for your content. Because I think where VAs get overwhelmed, and it's not the fact that you have to create all this content, it's the fact that you don't know where to start. So if you have a starting point, then once you start doing it, it just becomes routine and muscle memory. And as long as you're not having to be in your Notion board, because part of the issue is people are in their content every single day, maybe even like for hours, trying to figure out what are they going to do. So part of that is having a system where you're never spending more than 1 or 2 hours inside your Notion hub. Because one, you need to learn how to be efficient. And two, that's also going to enforce boundaries and time management. And so when you can have boundaries and time management for yourself, that translates so good when you start working with clients. You're already having that as a routine and consistency. So along with that, once you have those prompts to get started, then you do it in phases. And this is where the batching process happens. So for me, for example, I'll start batching like on a Thursday. I'll start drafting my prompts and getting everything fed into Chat GPT, and then it'll spit me out my plan on a page. Then I take that plan on a page and I might not look at it until the next week. And then that's where I start drafting out my 30-day content calendar. The plan on the page is going to have enough information where it's going to have the prompts to give me the hooks that I want for 30 days, the CTAs that I need for 30 days, and then the actual ideas based off the content pillars for 30 days. And then so that's the second phase of the prompt. So once you get into the third phase of the prompt, that's when it's going to give you the actual content that you're going to plug into your Notion calendar and then refine and edit and make sure all the nuances of AI and that your voice is coming through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of that is just you got to get into that routine and you just got to dedicate the time. So what I would say is you need to start having just one day a week that you're focusing on your content and getting things done. And if you start there, then you're going to see over time, those routines will just compound and you'll have a system that is refined because what you're doing is you're actually refining it in real time. So how do you feel about that?
It feels good and it actually makes sense. That's a perfect system to use.
Okay, so I'm going to make sure that you have that. So that is going to be the 3 prompts that will give you the plan on a page. And then also what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a screen record of me going through the process so you can see how my GPT is so trained that she knows exactly what to do. And I don't have to prompt her that much because it's 6 months of working with
That's
me,
a
right?
long time.
So 6 months with that specific GPT to help me plan because I have a GPT for each content pillar. I have a GPT for my comment strategy. I even have a GPT for my engagement strategy. And a lot of people say, well, engagement and comments are the same thing. They are, but there's context to it. And with GPT, you need to make sure that they are a subject matter expert on that specific one thing. Because if you overwhelm a GPT, imagine VAs, we get overwhelmed. Can you imagine what a robot who really doesn't apply critical thinking is going to feel like?
Bones out.
Exactly. So that's why you're going to that's why sometimes you get, oh, sorry, network issue, or sometimes you just don't get a response. It's like, I thought I gave him a prompt and I didn't get a response back. He's overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the GPT has burnt out. And so that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid burnout on all ends, okay? So I'm going to do a screen record and I'm going to show you. And I think that's going to open up your eyes to, yes, I have to put in this certain amount of work. You're going to have to put in the brunt work in the beginning. So you will spend a lot of time in the beginning getting it perfected. But as time goes off, that time lessens. So the first week, you might be spending maybe 4 to 6 hours getting this right. By your 12th week, you're spending 2 hours and you have content batch for 30 to 60 days.
That would be perfect. So amazing.
So it's just the progression. And that's where we say the consistency and patience is key. So half of it is your mindset. As long as you don't get fed up and burnt out mentally, like just because of lack of patience, you will be fine. And I'm going to do, and like I said, I'm going to do a screen record. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to show you, I can show you better than I can tell you. Let's put it that way. Okay. So we knocked out 2 questions. How are you feeling? Like, I really want to know, how are you feeling right now?
And I'm actually seeing things in a clearer way right now, in a more clearer way.
Yeah. That's why I like to run my podcast like this, like a conversation, because I think when you're interviewing someone, I mean, that's for a newscaster, right? You want to do an interview, you go find a journalist or a newscaster. When we're having these conversations on this podcast, I am just trying to make sure that I am actually addressing what you need. And I love my audience. Don't get me wrong, but right now, you're my only audience that I'm worried about. And that is going to resonate because your pain point is not special to other VAs, right? Because they're going to have the same pain points.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because so even you having this inquisitive brain and asking all these questions, you're helping other VAs without even realizing it. So I just want to throw that out there, that asking questions and showing up and doing the work, you're actually setting the tone for other VAs, and other VAs will start looking up to you. If Chisom is showing up with, and being consistent and she's on top of her game, other VAs will start looking to you and you're going to be building a community. And I might be like 2-3 years from now coaching Chisom on how to be a coach. You know what I mean?
That would be nice.
Exactly. Because you have to think about it. It's like we always got to think about our next move. We're setting ourselves up for success. So everything that we're doing is not a waste. So you're either going to take this and become an elite VA and you're going to be the one clients want, or you're going to be able to package all this and educate other VAs. And then you're going to start creating a lane where you're a mentor or you're a coach. That's a natural progression of this role. So I just always want you to keep an open mind no matter what you're doing. always think of how you can pay it forward. And then what I also wanted to say is as you're going through all this, document what you're doing, document your process that you're going through, document that, hey, this week I sat down for 6 hours, blah, blah, blah. And then a post 2 weeks from now, hey, I sat down for 3 hours and I was just looking back. I just, took shave 3 hours off my work schedule. And so that is something that not only is going to appeal to clients, it's also going to appeal to other VAs.
You want to connect.
Right? Exactly. So now you're making content that is not only going to resonate for your ICP to get you booked and paid, but you're also building community with other VAs where you're positioning yourself as a thought leader. So you heard that word, positioning, right? So now that word, it's not a fluff word, right? Now it has context. Now it actually means something. Now you know what it means and how to get that positioning, right?
I get that now.
Yeah, see? So everything relates to everything. So you do one thing, you touch 10 other things. So that's what I always want you to know is that's how you be efficient. That's how you're efficient. So you're building your own content batching system, right? But you're documenting and you're building in public, right? So you can have a new content pillar building in public on Fridays or something, right? And then that's where you're dropping your knowledge bombs. And that's where the VAs are probably going to rally around you and go, oh yeah, she posts all her VA stuff on Friday. Notifications are on. And you know what? The ICPs that they're connected to, they're going to show up in their feeds. That's how you get inbound leads. That's how you position yourself to get inbound leads. Because you're showing up and you're bringing value. Because your value doesn't just stop at the clients you serve. You bring value. You wake up and you bring value, right? You wake up, you get out of bed, you brought value to this world. So you have value. So that's what I always like to say with VAs. It's like you always hear this mindset stuff. Like, what does that mean? That sounds like fluff. This is the mindset shifts that I'm talking about. You wake up, you bring value. You already brought value to the table. So now how are you going to share that value? And so that's your job to figure that out. And once you figure that out and you cut out all the fluff and you get it, now you can share and educate other VAs. And there's Chisom, she's the thought leader for VAs, right? So with all that being said, give me just one word of how you're feeling right now, because I'm feeling over the moon because I'm so excited to share this stuff. But how are you feeling, girl?
I feel pumped, excited.
Yeah, I want to make sure, and I know you did the glow. So you're going to be in the school. You're going to get that invite. And all these questions, everything that you have, any loose ends or questions you feel like weren't completely answered, or maybe there's 10 other questions that popped up because of an answer I gave, write that down, save it, because you're going to bring that into the school community and we're going to continue working on this. And by the time you get into 2026, I think you're going to be positioned and have enough confidence where you're going to feel empowered. And I guarantee as long as you apply the frameworks and the principles, you will have a content calendar by the time you walk into 2026. Okay.
Man, that's amazing.
Okay. So that's the goal. That's the SMART goal you're going to have for 2026. So document it, write it down. Your SMART goal is by January 1, you're going to have a content calendar that's 30 days out. Okay. And then not only do I want you to document that goal, I want you to turn it into a SMART goal. So I want it to be specific. I want it to be measurable. And then I want you to put actions behind it. And I want to know what the results are. And it's going to be tied to time, which is why we have the January 1st date. And so when you show up in school, I'm going to ask you, Chisom, show me what your SMART goal looks like. I want to see the breakdown of it, because that's the only way that we're actually going to achieve it, when we dissect it and realize the work to get to that goal. So we can put what's that word that us VAs love to use? Tasks. So we can put some tasks behind it, right? The tasks never go away, but we don't want to lead with that. We want to lead with the transformation, which is you will have 30 days worth of content by January 1st. But what are the little tasks you have to do to get to there? Nobody cares about that. They want to see the transformation. So that's what you lead with. But when you start posting your content, then you're giving them behind the scenes of this is how I got there. You're bringing people along with their journey. They're going to feel a part of your story. And when your ICP sees that, they're going to be like, I want my audience to feel this way. I want my audience to rally behind me and my content and my product and my offers, just like her community does.
Yeah, that's the
That's
goal.
the goal. Okay. And we're gonna do that. These next couple months when we're in the community, that's our goal. That's your number one goal that you identified. Because I believe you're showing up, you're consistent, your infographics have even glowed up. Okay, girl, I am seeing the difference. I love it. I love to see the glow up in real time. And you know what? Other VAs are going to look up to that. They're going to see, oh, wow, look at her info. She's really stepped up her game, her branding, her banner, her headshot, her headliner. It's all coming together. And people will want that for themselves. And so another thing to that too, to help with your followers and your reach and visibility, once you get that down, okay, once you take what I've given you and you've made it your own, I want you to package that and you create another lead magnet and you start building a community of VAs who look to you as the go-to VA to help them build and help them get started. Okay, so you're going to have that lead magnet to break it down. And who knows, you might be hosting your own LinkedIn Live events and workshops showing VAs how to do this. Or me and you may collaborate and we may have a workshop where we're showing VAs together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one idea leads to another. So I know you heard the word opportunist, but you got to be an opportunist with yourself. You find an opportunity and you make it within your own self, within your own little world. Because I hear a lot of VAs, they don't have the opportunity. They don't have the seat at the table. They don't have the platform. No, you are the platform. You are the table. You are the opportunity. Let everybody know that. Okay. So what's your last question that you have to have the answer to, Chisom? Let me know.
Okay. It should be discovery calls, right? After I connect with someone and let's say, oh, okay, they would love to talk. How do I move the conversation naturally to a discovery call without feeling salesy at all? What's the right way to approach that?
An easy way to integrate all of this. Do you have a booking link?
Yeah, Calendly.
Okay. So one thing is sometimes what I found with CEOs and founders is just a discovery call isn't enough. So one thing that I've always led with was I would give them my lead magnet and then I would ask them if they had any questions about it. And when they would, I would say, oh my gosh, this is so perfect. And I really want to answer this question. Here's my booking link. Let's hop on a call and I'll show you additional things that can get you set up for success. So that's one way how I lead into that.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah. So that's why the lead magnet is going to be critical because you're not selling them something. You're giving them something. Hey, I noticed that you posted this about this. Well, my lead magnet, this addresses that. And if you have questions, let me know. And some of them say, oh, well, I would ask like some random question about it, or might even inquire about, oh, well, what's your rate or what's your availability? And again, that opens the door. And then you drop that link because you definitely want to get them on a call and learn more about them. Because if you can get them on the call without being salesy, then that's obviously the go-to place. There are going to be some clients where you're obviously just going to pitch, right? But then the majority of them, you want it to be like a natural progression.
Very natural.
And so, you know what I'm going to do is when I comment on your post, I'm going to put like, let's have an emoji where I'm going to just like role play as an ICP. So I'm just going to use an emoji on your post. So I might comment on one of your posts, right? And I'm going to drop emoji like, which emoji should I use? I'll use an elephant emoji, okay? So if I comment, no, seriously, girl, because this is the only way to learn is trial and error. How many times have I had to learn by being burned? I don't want you to go through that. So you're just going to learn we'll do mock trial and error. But when I comment on your post and I put an elephant emoji, I want you to treat me like your ICP. So I want you to comment to that comment like you would with your ICP and take me through your process. I want you to comment, make me still engage. And then I want we're already connected. So the next step is you're going to drop me a DM. And obviously you're going to use some of the advice that I give you, and I'm expecting some type of lead magnet, even if it's just a one-page something, just let's emulate the process. It doesn't have to be something put together. Just give me like a white paper on something, right? And then we're going to kind of role play, and I'm going to see how you integrate your pitching, and then I'll grade you on it. Okay, girl?
Okay.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to do it, and it might be tomorrow, it might be in 2 weeks. Okay? But this is why you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. You know what I mean? So if you've got things in place, so when people show up, because people show up on their own time, they're not showing up on your timeline. You want a client, you got bills to pay, but they're not showing up on that timeline. They're showing up on their timeline when they got the budget, when they got the capacity, right? So we want to meet them where they are. So when they're ready, we want to be ready. So that's why we're going to go through this exercise. And I think it's going to open your eyes a lot, because you're going to see, you're probably going to, you know what's going to happen? You're going to start second guessing the things that you're doing. And that's good. You're going to really second guess everything you're going. Because one, you're like, okay, I don't want Monica to think I don't know what I'm doing. But the second piece of that, you're also getting into that mindset of, okay, if this is a client, how am I really going to win them over? You know what I mean? That good first impression, that foot in the door.
I get that.
All right, girl. I know we've been at it for a minute, but how do you feel as we wrap things up and like everything kind of we talked about? How are you feeling?
Good, and it's been fun, Oliver.
Good. I'm so proud of you for just being vocal and inquisitive, because that is half the battle. Because you know how they say closed mouths don't get fed? You wouldn't have had this opportunity or even have this like train of thought or even had the ideas to, hey, I want to level up, without like connecting with people and seeing what they're doing and seeing how they're accomplishing things, and seeing that it's not always, roses and, clients being booked. There's also struggle there. And so part of having that community and that relationship building on LinkedIn is learning these nuances with the people and the creators we follow.
It's not a lot of people out there that knows how to position themselves, actually. Just like the way you did, that made me see you as the high coach that knows what she's doing. That's why I'm here, actually. If you hadn't positioned yourself that way, I don't think I would even be here.
Exactly. And you know what, girl? This didn't happen overnight. This was 20 years in the making, that everything just compounded, right? So I was a VA for the longest time. I've been freelancing since 2003. Okay? I don't even know if you were born in...
I don't... Should I say that? I want for me to answer that. Oh my God.
But that just goes to show, like, in another 20 years, where can you be? Like, what businesses and empires are you going to be running? You know what I mean? So that's just food for thought. So the same thing that you're saying about me now, someone is going to be saying about you later. And that is the seat that you bring to the table.
I love that. I love
table you created, your own table. You brought the seat and you brought the table. All right. Well, thank you so much for being a guest today. Or, not even a guest. You're just a collaborator. Thank you for, you know what? Better yet, thank you for being a good strategic partner.
Oh, that sounds good.
We speak it into the existence. You are that strategic partner.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right. Take care. Bye. And that's how we do it. Real coaching, real breakthrough, right here on the spot. Got burning questions? Want to be in the hot seat? Send them my way at itsmonica.com. Until next time, I'm the VA Godmother, signing off.